So this is the Flood and Erosion Control Board meeting of August 17th, 2021. And this is Becky Bunnell, Chair. And if we could go around and everyone else say who is on the line.
Yeah. Don Lamberti, Vice Chair.
And I'm Dick Mahusky. I'm the Secretary.
Prue O'Brien, Recording Secretary.
Okay, and we have a quorum, so we will move on to the item 1 on call, which is approval of the June and July 2021 minutes. So let's start with the June minutes. Are there any comments?
This is Dick. I have no comments, and I move that the minutes be accepted as submitted.
Yeah,
Is there a second? Okay,
second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so approved. Let's move on to the July 2021 minutes. Are there any comments?
Yeah.
This is Dick. I have no comments on the minutes as submitted, and I make a motion that they be approved as submitted.
I second the motion.
Any, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, these are approved. So I'm going to suggest that we combine item 2 and 3 on call because together because they actually tie to each other. So I'm going to give a quick review of ARPA funding and next steps. I actually had submitted a letter recommending that to Brenda and the Board of Selectmen. I copied the Board of Finance and the RTM members, recommending that we add several projects, 2 in particular, to the ARPA funding list, with the idea that if there was more money, I gave a list of prioritized projects that we'd worked with Bill Hurley on that would be added on if there was additional funds. I unfortunately called into the Board of Selectmen meeting a little late. So, Dick, if you heard the discussion, can you recap what was discussed before I called in? Because Brenda had said that was discussed right before I got on the line and that they had talked with Bill Hurley, and I got the sense that they might put it into ARPA or they might bond it, but I didn't really understand exactly what it was.
Okay.
Did you by any chance hear that, Bart?
What Brenda did was she had a document that was published, and I sent around a copy of that yesterday. No, I guess it was this morning, right? And it's the American Rescue Plan Act, the published comments that they got back on their proposed spend. The 33 items, I believe, were on their spend. So in going through that, she just read each comment that's printed on that document, and then she came to comments by the Sustainable Task Force, and she generalized them and mentioned them, and then she came to the category of the Flood and Erosion Control Board wrote in favor of. And she listed all 6 items that were in your letter to them, Becky. So, and then she commented that and she commented earlier in the meeting that this ARPA fund is not the end of the road for any of our spending because we have other means of getting funds and spending funds. And she particularly noted that the items on flood and erosion submittal of things we would like to do, those items, studies, can be bonded in the normal routine bonding mechanism as opposed to coming out of the operating fund. So she made a point of that. She mentioned how, as you said, she had meetings with Bill Hurley and other staff to go over this, and she's very amenable to continuing the dialogue on this because she knows that flooding is a problem for our community, and she's very sensitive to that, et cetera, et cetera. Anybody who wants to can certainly go back and listen to the recording of the Board of Selectmen meeting from yesterday, and you can hear the exact words for yourself. But so the current 33 items, they might be modified a little bit, but the flood and erosion items requested will not become part of that spend.
So they didn't actually say whether they would bond it. They just said that could be bonded.
No. It's like, okay, keep talking, find a forum, get a specific item, come up with a price proposal, and submit it. Because many of these things are mentioned or can be if you look sideways, they're mentioned in the capital budget plan, I think.
Well, some of these aren't. We had requested when Joe Michelangelo was here that they be put into the capital waterfall, and he did not put all of them in, unfortunately. And then I think when John Marsilio was here, I'm not sure they necessarily got in either. Some of these are in, and some are not. So I'd have to go back.
I don't think they changed much of anything from the was it the December? Because they were supposed to have a capital budget workshop in like September, and then everybody said COVID, and then they put it off to December, and then they had it in December, and it was kind of a nothing thing. So
okay,
I don't know.
Here's the question. So the question, I guess, and it sounds like we need to follow up with Bill Hurley on this. If they're not going to be put into ARPA, then we need to understand, do we need to do a formal RFP on these so that we can get a formal proposal or set of proposals? And can you do that before the capital workshop? Or is that, I'm not sure what the right sequence is for the next step is the question. So it sounds like we need a follow-up conversation with Bill Hurley to understand what the next steps are, whether we need to do RFPs now in order for these projects in order to get a firmer, right now these are all these budgets, estimated costs are all Bill Hurley's best estimates,
right,
which may or may not be what actually someone would charge us for this. So it sounds like maybe we need to actually put formal RFPs into the system for at least several of these projects so that we have a tighter proposal that we can evaluate, and then once the budget process starts, which will be in the fall, we put those specific numbers into the budget proposal.
Yes. And Marsilio needs to be part and parcel of these conversations too.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Marsilio was actually part. My understanding from Brenda was that Marsilio was with Bill Hurley, and it was a joint discussion.
That sounds correct. So
okay.
So they're not dead. After the COVID doldrums, we just have to regroup the wagons around the entire topic of items on our master plan. What's the priority? How do we get them funded? Can we use part of the, and I'm making this up, okay? Can we use part of the $400,000 earmarked in the capital budget for flood control measures to fund some of these studies?
Yeah, because the other thing we need to bond is the pump station, which I didn't even mention here because I know Bill was already working to have that in the waterfall chart.
Right. That I believe is in the waterfall chart. And if you recall, when they did the first presentation of the 33 item ARPA list, George Talbot, who lives over right near the Jennings Beach parking lot, over there at the bitter end of South Benson Road. So George Talbot, new resident in town, he commented on the pump station, and I sent him a follow-up email after that saying, "Hi George, gee, thanks for your interest. If you look at our webpage, blah blah blah," and I have heard nothing back from him yet.
Okay.
But the point of that is the pump station was mentioned during that initial presentation, although it's not on the list of 33 because it's on the capital waterfall chart in its own right.
Okay, so action coming out of item 2 and 3 combined here is for me or someone, and I'm happy to do it, but if someone else wants to, you're welcome to as well, to follow up with Bill Hurley and understand the sequence of what needs to happen. Do we need to get a formal RFP out first before it can be part of the waterfall discussions, or do we put it on the waterfall first and then get it approved and then start the RFP process? So just okay,
I will talk with Bill Hurley to understand what the process is, and the the allied action that I want to take is I want to dust off the master plan, that spreadsheet of all the items, and recast that as to what I am aware of today, including these 6 items that you have on your list, Becky. And then we can prioritize that. Because things like, we have this project for replacing the tide gates over at the ball field where that old railroad bridge is. And
Right.
that has just stopped cold because the State Historic Preservation Office said you may not demolish that bridge. Brian Carey was working on that, and obviously that just died on the vine. So one of the things I want to talk with the new conservation director, Tim Bishop, I think is his name, is, hey, Tim, so did you inherit this job from Brian with the State Historic Preservation Office? Because we have to tear that bridge down. I mean, that is like, that's ridiculous.
No, well, Dick, we actually can. It's more costly, but we can actually do it parallel to that bridge. We could actually run the tide gates right before the bridge. It's a little more costly because we just have to do, additional groundwork. But it could be that that's the smartest way to go, and just not try to fight a losing battle. If we're just going to get nowhere.
Yes, I hear you, and that's probably wise. But it makes me livid that we are slaves to these bureaucrats. For what purpose? What is someone ever going to do with the steel in that bridge?
And it's ugly. It's ugly. It's not even anything that's like beautiful that we're preserving. No one even knows we're preserving it. There's no plaque. There's no plaque. There's no nothing. No one knows it's historic.
I know.
So I think we need to look at
that's
backup
just an
options.
example of something that died on the vine. The other thing that died on the vine is we have to get going on the Riverside Drive, Turney Creek tide gate.
Well, no,
actually,
Bill said that's pretty far along. We're only waiting for one more approval or something. So I think that is actually very close to being ready to be initiated.
Okay, well,
and
that's
I thought
good.
He said he had funding for that.
You know more than I do.
I'm pretty sure he said he had funding for that. So I think the action is, let's go back and relook at the whole list.
Well, that's on the capital plan. I mean, I know that. That's on $3.5 million or something that's on the capital plan.
Exactly. And I think he's just waiting for one approval. So I think that's almost ready to be kicked off.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
Well, and there again, that's why I need to redo our master spreadsheet and just identify the today's status of all of these things.
Okay.
So I will talk with Bill about the process, and I will re-up the master list.
Perfect. Anything else for item 2 or 3 on call? Okay, let's move on to item 4 on call, which I hesitate to do because Peter's not on, but item 4 on call is review tax appraisal data and next steps. So I need to sit with that myself, and I think I might be able to manipulate the Excel spreadsheets a little bit.
Okay, I sent out an email just prior to the meeting, because I was playing with the Excel spreadsheet, and I'm looking at the Excel spreadsheet on one hand and the GIS map on the other hand, where I put the flood zone boundary on the GIS map. And you'll see I did a little sample, a few houses on Ruane Street, and we can, and again, it's very labor intensive, but I don't know any other way to do it. Peter has had subsequent conversations with Ross Murray. I talked to Peter this morning. That's where I got this from. He has had subsequent conversations with Ross Murray, and he thinks they think that Ross can do something better. I don't know what that means.
Here's my question. What GIS map are we using? So, for example,
the town's GIS map.
No, but from a GIS standpoint, do we want to, because we can run the GIS data based upon, a database that says sea level rise of 20 inches and a Cat 3 hurricane, or we can run this GIS based upon today. So
What is on the GIS that we have access to through the town website, I believe, is the current flood insurance rate map extents.
Okay. So I think we need to actually run two models here. I think we need to run the current one, and then I think the more important one from a flood and erosion control standpoint is the future one. What happens when we get a, sea level rise and Cat 2 or 3? We could run a couple future models. A Cat 2 or 3 hurricane. That's the data that the town should be nervous about, because we are going to get another Sandy type storm. We are, and to look at today's current flood maps, that sort of implies that, that doesn't imply any sea level rise to my knowledge.
Oh, I understand. Yeah. Nor
implies,
increasing severity of storms when they get up to this latitude.
Exactly. So I think the new engineer is very, has some good facility with GIS database mapping and stuff like that. So we could ask her to run a model that is a future model that shows sea level rise, and I'm just saying Cat 3 as kind of a worst case scenario, because I hope to God we don't ever get a Cat 4 or 5, but let's run. We have had Cat 3s before. 38 was a Cat 3. We've had Cat 2s before. We had Cat 2s in the 50s. So I think it would be prudent to run a Cat 3 sea level rise model and show that as worst case scenario, or at least near term worst case scenario. And then we can certainly run the current GIS database. But I think we would be remiss not running a future scenario.
Okay,
if I understand correctly, she can do the GIS based upon actual street addresses. So she can tell us.
I have no concept of how and if particular street addresses can get overlaid onto the GIS flood extents for the various projections, 5 years out, 10 years out.
Okay, so
I'll talk with Bill Hurley, and I'll talk with Bill Hurley.
I'd like to meet the new engineer anyway, so I'd love to be part of that conversation to understand what is possible.
All right, that's fine.
So maybe we set up a call. Dick, if you want to set it up, I'd be happy to, or if I can set it up.
We need to go there and sit face to face and have Mega bring up the GIS on her big screen, and we can say, oh, well, look at that. Can you do this? Can you do that?
Well, I think we can do it as a conversation first, just to say, what is it you're able to do? Here's what we'd like is, a sea level rise Cat 3 scenario. Are you able to do that in the GIS mapping database? That's a very simple question. You either are or you aren't.
Okay.
And if you need different modeling software than it can't be done within GIS, then that's an easy, then we can try and figure out how to get that database for her.
Yeah, because Circa has all of those projection program things.
Exactly, and she might have it too.
Okay.
I just don't know enough. I'm not facile enough with what is possible within the GIS database, or whether you need supplemental databases as overlays. So I will introduce myself to her and ask her what is possible. This may not be a top priority for her, but Bill will certainly give her priorities, and hopefully we can add this to the list. But I do think that would be helpful to see a future scenario.
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
Can I ask who she is?
Megha, Megha. I don't know what her last name is. I don't know anything.
She's a new engineer that's just been hired.
She's little Laura.
Oh, okay.
So she replaced what's her name? Oh, Jesus.
Yes, Juliana.
Juliana, thank you.
Yeah.
She replaced Juliana, but she has facility with the GIS. Bill said Juliana was much more skilled in GIS, but Megha brings engineering in addition to GIS.
Right.
She apparently she worked for the town of Bridgeport in their engineering department.
Oh, wow.
And she came here from Bridgeport. She's a graduate of UConn Engineering School. We don't ask anybody's age, but she's To me, she's a little kid. Probably, 30, 28,
Right.
30, 34.
Yeah, 'cause
That's all the same age to me. I don't know.
heard you talking, but for the minutes, I just wanted to know who she was. Thank you very much.
She's the new town, and I don't know what the title is, associate engineer.
Well, I can look it up.
Another senior engineer or what. But she's like 2 weeks in the job now.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to item 5 on call. Any old or new business that anyone wants to bring up?
I just want to mention the sand spit over in Ash Creek. We all should be aware of that. Mr. Landau wrote a letter to the Flood and Erosion Control Board asking to get on our agenda.
I did not understand.
Becky said, huh? And I said, yeah, me too, huh? I marked up that little drawing that they had in their two-page study with one attachment where figures don't lie, but man, I think they're picking and choosing what they're doing here. So they are presenting to the Conservation Commission tomorrow at the Conservation Commission's meeting, their 7 o'clock meeting, which will be a teleconference only. They're on the agenda for conservation. They have the attachments. They have attachments which are the 2012 89-page study that Ash Creek Conservatory did, and the 2-page study from, I think it was April. Do you have the whole thing there? What's the date on that? I think they did it April this year.
Was 2012 done pre-Sandy or post-Sandy?
Well, it's dated December 2012, so it was post-Sandy. However, all of that information was developed pre-Sandy.
Yeah, because to me, the data that I saw, which was not the full study you're mentioning, there was no indication that it was a normal erosion. It seemed like there was a pre-sandbar size, and then there was a post-Sandy sandbar size. And I saw no data that gave me any indication that Sandy wasn't the mitigating force that changed that sandbar, not traditional erosion. And if it was a Sandy issue, then it's not a function of dredging. It's a function of a big hurricane came through and eroded a lot of their sandbar.
Yeah, there's a whole litany of questions, and they're spinning this thing for some purpose. I don't know what the heck the purpose is. They want to get money.
Well, the purpose is they want the town of Fairfield to pay to rebuild that sandbar and put more sand on it. But I don't know that the dredging was the issue. There's nothing that I have seen.
The whole argument about if the sandbar goes away, all the houses are going to flood for miles around. That's baloney. And the other argument is if the sandbar goes away, the big waves will go all the way to Bay Edge Court, so we should put the sandbar back. I'm sorry, those waves aren't going to go into the estuary. Give me a break. But I want to listen to their thing tomorrow and see what they have to say. And then more importantly, they talked about having, Landau in his letter talked about having a meeting with Bill and Tim Bishop, the new conservation guy. And I asked Bill, please give us 2 seats at that table when that meeting happens.
Yeah.
Because I just want to understand more about where they're coming from.
Yeah, thank you. So, Dick, if you could keep on top of that and just make sure that Flood and Erosion has a seat at that table, I think you're right. And thank you for attending the call tomorrow, because I think Flood and Erosion should have a voice on that call as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Maybe something will cause me to ask a question, but my intent is not to give any kind of, speechy soliloquy, questioning thing. Just let them make their presentation.
Well, I think we should actually just say we'd like to see. We're not seeing any data at this point that indicates that this is not a function of Sandy, and we'd love to see more data and continue the conversation. I think that's appropriate for us to weigh in.
Okay.
I mean, if that's what we feel, right? Or, I mean.
Yeah. Yes. I want to see more data and have a better understanding. Me personally, I don't think this is an issue for flood and erosion. If that sandbar erodes, it's not affecting the tax base of my town at all. If that sandbar erodes, no resident of the town will be harmed by their shorefront property becoming less in size. So I don't get it. And I don't think that the sandbar sloughing off into the channel will put Great Grass Island at risk of getting torn away and the fiddler crabs losing habitat. I just don't see it. So I have a bias about this.
I don't disagree with you, but I will say that I am in a different position than you in the sense that I don't know that I have the data to opine one way or the other, because no data I have seen indicates that there will be increased flooding. No data that I have seen indicates that this is not just a natural erosion that was directly attributed to Sandy. But I don't know that either way. And I think someone with a better modeling capabilities needs to do a proper study, because nothing I have seen is a definitive one way or the other on this, as far as I'm concerned. I've not seen a data-driven analysis.
It's like motherhood and apple pie, That's.
Yeah, so I'd like to see a data-driven analysis. Is what I think we need to ask for.
That two page quote study unquote. It's like, okay, if sandbars go away, that's bad. Yeah, okay, maybe.
They come and they go.
Yeah. So, Mr. Landino, would you care to comment on this?
No comment.
Oh, come on.
No, I came in halfway through the conversation. I'll reserve my comment, but thanks.
Okay. We're actually on any new business, so would you have anything new and exciting to share with us that you've been researching during your convalescence when you had all this time on your hand and you couldn't go running around like a fool?
I do not.
Okay. I have one kind of non-critical item here. I'm trying to resurrect the Pine Creek Association. And so on September 11th, we're going to have our annual meeting. And so if anybody in the Flood and Erosion Board would like to go there, I will invite you to come there. Get free pizza.
September 12th.
September 12th.
Sunday.
Yeah. And it's a good chance to talk to people, see what they're thinking about the creek and the dike. You're welcome to come there and talk to people.
Now, we don't have any videos, so. No. But Don made this nice flyer, Pine Creek Association, annual meeting, greet your friends, meet new neighbors, where? Pine Creek Playground, outdoors, Sunday, September 12th, 5 to 7, pizza, salad, soda provided, bring your own beer, booze. I have to look again, but I think the Pine Creek Playground there, that chunk of land, if you look on the GIS as to who owns that, the Flood and Erosion Control Board owns that.
Really?
Somewhere right around that playground. Yeah, we own, and again, I mean the town owns it, but it's listed as Flood and Erosion Control Board owns that.
Right.
So,
but anybody on the board, you're invited to come there and talk to the neighbors, get a sense of what people are thinking.
Good. And I might just to tag on to that, the data that Peter got from the assessor. For instance, it does not have French Street on it. So in that database, which purports to be the flood zone, the coastal flood zone of our town, Don's good to go.
It means they pay no taxes, right?
That's right. So.
Okay, that's it.
That's all we seem to have here around the round table.
Okay.
Becky, you still there? Yeah. Becky, you still there?
No, she's not.
30 minutes and 8 seconds. Yeah, because her time just changed.
Okay.
Sorry, I dropped off for a second.
Oh, okay. So that's, I don't think we have anything else here. You have anything else?
I do not have anything else. So should we adjourn the meeting then?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Yeah, I second the motion.
Okay, thank you all.
Go play with your grandkids.
Meeting is adjourned. We'll go play with my grandkids now.
Okay.
Good time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.